All right, whatever. That's fine. All right, we can still share it with people so they can see it if they wanted to give us more feedback. So,
okay.
All right, rock on. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to screen share our lesson plan so you guys can see it, and we'll just go through it. All right. Cool. All right, cool. Okay, so here's how it's going to work. First thing in the morning, we're going to come in and enjoy some light refreshments.
Very light.
And Matt is going to start us out with a keynote. And his, excuse me, his keynote is going to be anywhere from half an hour to 45 minutes long. We don't really know.
We're going to try and make it a half hour.
We're going to try and make it a half hour. And these are some really random notes, but we can give you the basic gist. All right? So so you can see it starts with some quotes, like if you do it alone, you know, you basically don't do it as well, right? You do it together and you get it done powerfully. Can't remember who that quote is by. And then this idea of like teacher-proof curriculum, like canned stuff, is the wrong way to change education. So those are sort of his two big ideas, like collaboration and creating things together. So he's going to talk through his role and how he started and what his beliefs are. He's actually going to talk about when he was a teacher. He's got some interesting stories about what he used to do, and he did it alone. And then he's going to share a story about the 5th grade team from his old school. And it's interesting, one of them has stayed in communication with him and, you know, has been talking a lot about this project. And one of the interesting stories from that I think is probably helpful to highlight is that they had this interview project, this interview component of this interdisciplinary unit. I think it was actually an expedition that they did. And this person that these kids interviewed came in and met with Matt and was saying things like they didn't do a, you know, they struggled to even read their questions, or this kid, he really, you know, was having a really hard time, and Matt really like talked through everything with him. And the gist of it was that the guy understood that even though, or I guess Matt sort of asked him some questions like, hey, just because this kid can't read like perfectly, does it mean he shouldn't have the opportunity to interview you and hear about like all of the incredible things that you've done? And it totally like turned the guy around. It was a really powerful story. He'll tell it way better than I just told it. It's not my story. So.
Right. But like what he's trying to speak to is you don't have to wait till kids can do everything to do the really cool stuff. Mm-hmm. In fact, doing the really cool stuff is the way you get kids excited about to learn to read, and it gives kids motivation to do that. So it's not an either-or thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So he's going to speak to that. You'll see there it says district focus counters. We made just a list of things that we thought you'll see it farther down in this doc that people might counter with. So that's what that is so one of the counters is, when do I have to do this? And he's going to speak to that whole timeline, but the piece about like it's not mandate or not mandate. It's that we think this is going to be so great, everyone's going to want to do this.
You know, Lydia, I think there are some real tensions around that, and I think it's going to be an important thing to really give that some time and some focus, because there's some real naysayers, but they don't know why yet. There are misconceptions, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And putting some of those to rest will really help open people's minds up a little bit more.
Good. Yeah, and I think, you know, that's then what we're going to move into is that, you know, There are some things that will never be resolved. This is messy work, and there will always be tensions. And then I'm going to just quickly go through a couple examples of tensions that we always have. Things like state standards versus local relevance. You know, professional life and personal life. So I'm just going to go through a couple of those and talk about how we just need to acknowledge that they're all there.
Mm-hmm.
I think what you just said, Terry, makes me think like may need to come back to that. When do I have to do it piece, or the naysayers, or actually just keep that in your head and see if this presentation helps that sort of naysayers that aren't sure why they're naysaying.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, actually.
Yeah. So Lil's putting in some of the things. I just have some visuals to go with that, and just to talk about how we always have those, and we're not trying to resolve all of them because you can't.
They just exist.
They're just there. And we just really feel strongly that if we start with that, we let people know, and even the naysayers, like, we don't have a perfect answer. You know, you're always going to have a struggle between these things, but working within them, let's see what we can do for kids.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We have 2 targets for the morning, and we're going to try to do these quickly, so we're not going to do like our usual, like, can someone read this from the audience? Also, there will be a lot of people, so that will be cray. So I'm going to read them, and so they're really around describing the elements of interdisciplinary curriculum work, and I can collaborate our professional target and then our other target, and we're trying to do a better job of measuring and checking in on these. So if you wouldn't mind just sort of paying attention, seeing if we are actually doing that would be great. So we'll do the stand up, hand up, pair up for that, and people will. The prompt is going to be unpack the targets and discuss a tension that you bring to them. What do you guys think about that?
Is that for the learning targets?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Lily's going to read those 2 learning targets, and then we're going to ask people to find a partner to just talk about the targets and discuss a tension you bring to them, so that goes back to the tensions that I'm going to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Chris. Sorry we didn't see you on there. Hi.
Yeah, that should work.
Yeah.
Is tension equal to frustration?
Good question.
Not necessarily. It's a reality that that you can't. It's a tension only because it can never be resolved.
Yeah, I would hate to see this turn. I know it won't happen because I know you've already thought of this, but for it to turn into like a complaining session kind of thing, and we don't want to go that way. But I think acknowledging tensions exist is really important, because they do.
Yeah. Yeah, and so like we grappled a little bit with, do we start with the tensions?
Yeah, yeah.
And we decided to just sort of like take the bull by the horns, but it's really not so much like we're hoping that it's not like a bitching session, because really what the little tensions talk is, it's a balancing act. We always have to balance things in our lives.
And it's keeping it real too, not trying to sugarcoat this and make it look like it's some,
Right.
I don't know.
Right. This isn't one specific answer, and this also isn't work that's going to be tied up in a little bow.
Right. Right.
Probably when you say it, refer back to the tensions that Matt faced and think about that in application to what's currently occurring.
Okay.
Okay.
To tie it in, so that people don't go with frustrations or whatever.
Okay.
Session.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Mm-hmm. So specifically that. So Lydia's going to be doing the tension slide, and I'm trying to bring up an old version that we have. It's not the newest one, but just so you guys can see a little bit of what that looks like. Yeah, I guess that was sort of that we grappled with this. We were like, do we even do this, or do we just sort of ignore the tensions?
Do you think it's too much do we just move on from the tensions? Like, I wonder, do we do the tensions and then move on to learning targets and just ask them to unpack the learning targets and not explicitly ask them to talk about tensions? Is that going to turn it into a bitch session?
I think
yeah, go ahead, Sandy.
It gives people a chance to voice their, worries, frustrations, concerns, and then say, like Matt had those, they got worked through, some are still there, now we're going to move on.
Mm-hmm.
So, people can voice it and say, yeah, we know they're there, now what can we do to get past it or move on with it? You know what I mean?
It's the elephant in the room, right? So when do you bring the elephant out?
I mean, you can parallel it with, the years that you have classes from where. You have these kids and you have to teach them and work with them. You can't just pack them up in a closet and move on. You've got to learn to work around it. You know what I mean?
I think, too, that people are going to be coming into this that morning with these tensions on their mind and with these frustrations on their mind, and it's probably better to get it out there and get it out in the open, like Chris said, the elephant in the room, because otherwise they're just going to be holding on to those all day, and it could keep them from doing some productive work.
Okay.
So yeah, I do think it's good to go ahead and
let it happen.
Yeah, yeah.
So do you see this arrow?
No,
they don't. Sorry,
no.
Never mind.
They do not. Yeah. I'm gonna change my screen share.
Oh, that's better.
Oh, I can read that better now.
Oh, read what better?
What was going on?
It got bigger.
Oh, was it wee? It was tiny?
Yeah.
Tiny. And I don't have my glasses. But now I see you.
Okay. So now we're going to try sharing something else.
Okay. Oh, yep. Arrow.
Oh, good. Make it bigger.
Yes, I can.
Can you make the whole thing bigger?
That's
much.
Good.
You get the J.
So there's a couple different. Yeah. There's a couple different slides, but this is the last slide that shows the two sides of it.
So it's like national standards, local relevance, disciplines, and integration, breadth, depth, product, process, right?
And we have slides. You can see on the left-hand side, there's slides that have, I can see that, right? That have pictures for a visual for each one of these. Okay?
Yeah.
Helpful?
I like that.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay. That was small for them for some reason.
Yeah, why is it so small?
I don't know. Okay, so can you see that? Is that pretty tiny still?
Yep.
Yeah, it is. I can see it, though.
If you guys want to, though, you could just click on the link that's in the, if you don't care about seeing people, you can just click on the link that was in the email for the lesson plan.
Someone's in.
Yeah, there's an anonymous orangutan. He's viewing it right now. Okay. Cool. All right, thanks, guys. I think you're right. I think that's the thing that we were grappling with, really trying to say, like, do we let people really get it out? And it's still in relationship to the learning target. So it's not like it's just, get it all out and it doesn't have a specific purpose or it's not tied to what we're doing. It's like, get it out. Like, that stuff is real, man.
Yeah.
It gets stressful. So, okay. So then we really hemmed and hawed about this next part, whether or not we wanted to show the two videos. In your feedback from the 18th of December, many of you suggested that we show them to everyone on this day. And so we thought it was a powerful way to say, to just kind of be clear about, you know, the difference between thematic units and case studies and where we're going, and to highlight the overlap. So we're going to do something pretty similar to what we did together on the 18th. So we'll show the 2 videos and have people take notes in their own note catcher.
Do you guys remember the videos, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Let me be sure.
The baseball one and the
Lightning post office.
Lightning post office.
Okay.
And the same note catcher. I think we were gonna preamble this, like we're gonna show a couple of videos, and as you can recall from our professional learning target, you know, these are a few teachers who have put themselves out there, and I'm not totally sure how to say this, but like remember that as we go forward. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't say that to you guys, but I realized we sort of, maybe we should have. I don't want people to dog on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're trying to figure out how to set the stage. I think people will be fine. We have amazing teachers who are super respectful, but you know, it can be weird to watch other people teach.
I don't think you have to worry about it. I didn't feel like that was what happened in our December meeting.
Okay.
And I also thought that when I watched the first video and I was taking notes on it, I hope this happened to other people too. I'm like, oh, this is really cool, and I'm like taking notes, and then I see the second one, I'm like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
It definitely was a light bulb there for me.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, totally. Okay. So, and the note catcher is pretty simple. You know, it just says what characteristics or features do you notice about the curriculum in this classroom? Then how do you think this curriculum would affect student engagement and learning? And then connections to your building or classroom. Or classrooms. I think we're going to change that a little. So then we were going to share that Venn diagram. Do you remember that, guys? On one side it talks about thematic units. On the other side it talks about learning expeditions, but we're actually changing it. And then there's in the center some of the commonalities. The common elements are things like project-based, hands-on learning, teach to all learning styles and multiple intelligences. The topics generate student interest, etc. So those are some of the commonalities. We'll clarify that the baseball one was thematic, that lightning was more of a case study or interdisciplinary curriculum. I was going to share that most of what I did at best was probably more around thematic units, and that that case studies really build on that work of thematic units, and there's lots of overlap, but the curriculum work aims to move toward that case study side as a way to get toward deeper learning and more connected learning.
Do you think you could share that the case study template maybe? Because I found that to be really useful when we were working in December and actually writing case studies. I thought that for me it just helped guide me to write a better. It just made it make more sense. It made it more concrete for me.
Yes, we totally can. What we were thinking is not quite yet, but in a little bit.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't mean right here, but it's.
Oh, okay, good. So, let us know if, look where we have it and then decide, should we do it earlier or should we do it in a different way? But we agree with you. We think that was a really great framing piece.
Do you guys think we should do something else with the Venn diagram, or just sort of should we leave more of it blank and have people fill it out, or was that more like they already just did a note catcher? Is it fine to just have it be a document that they just have? Like, what do you guys think?
Jessica.
So what's the space like, and like how much are people prepared to come and write and be taking notes? For example, we're all going to meet at school and walk down. Like, people might not necessarily bring their backpack. Are they going to have the supplies that they need to do the work?
Yeah, so there are going to be tables.
And we're going to bring supplies, and we are asking everyone to bring a device.
Okay.
So we'll let people know that,
Yeah, we'll share the learning targets and stuff like that with everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. And then my next question, did you mean that you were going to share the case study outline this day, or when you said you're going to share it later, meaning a different day?
Later this day, before
Okay.
10:30.
But we had a question about that we'd like your thinking. So you probably, yeah. Yeah. So should we just sort of leave the Venn diagram? We don't have a lot of time. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, I would not beat yourself up on the Venn diagram, because that's really not the whole point of the thing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yay! We should have talked about
don't
8
remember
hours.
the diagram. I don't remember that part.
Okay, all
That's
right.
bad, isn't it?
No. Nope. That is totally fine. Okay. Cool.
And so I think that what the important piece of this day really is to get them to look at the umbrellas. I know I've shared them with my 4-5 team, but to get everybody in the district looking at their grade level umbrella so that they, really have an idea what we're talking about. And I'm sure a big thing that's going to come up is, well, how does math fit into this? Because that's the question that we've struggled with as we were writing it 2 years ago, as we try to implement everything now. That's the big thing that we still struggle with, is if you're integrating, and some of these case studies take up a good chunk of day, how do you incorporate the math pieces in that?
Yeah.
Meaningfully, right? Not authentically. How do you do that authentically?
Right.
Go ahead. Sorry, Lil.
No, I think you're right in that people need to look at the umbrellas and they need to see what we're talking about. I don't know how deep we can go into whether math fits or not within, but I think we're going to keep watching for what we are going to present about case studies and see if we're strong enough in talking about the fact that things aren't going to fit in all the time.
Yes, I see what you're saying.
Right?
And I think that'll kind of come through the readings, which we don't. We're in the middle of changing them to kind of highlight some of that stuff too. Some of the stuff that we thought that the readings were missing too. So,
right.
So let me just make a note of that too,
Yeah.
to make sure that it's incorporated on this.
I have another question too.
Go ahead.
I'm wondering how many people are going to be coming into this not really understanding what the history of this whole thing is.
Right.
And would it be worth taking 5 minutes to just say, okay, this was our thought 2 years ago. This is where we started. Then this is where we went to next.
That's exactly what I do next.
Oh, okay. Great minds, right?
No, you're right. Thank you. That
So
actually
good.
is so helpful, because we were like, you know what? We're going to need to back up.
Yeah. There's some people who I really think are just, this is where the misunderstandings are coming in, because they don't understand what happened, why it happened, how it happened, what the heck is an umbrella, that kind of thing.
So if we back up and we talk about,
away with the kids. Again, bus
Hold on a second.
63 is going to be about 10 minutes late.
So I think that could put some of those misconceptions to rest as well.
Cool. So yeah, we're gonna sort of tell the story a little bit.
Are you going to go before the umbrellas?
What do you mean?
When we first went down and we tore apart the Common Core and broke them in, remember?
Yeah.
okay.
some people were then on that stage of it, and then all of a sudden we have umbrellas. Where's the connection?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
showing on yours and not on mine.
No, it's right there.
Oh, there it is. Sorry.
Yeah,
so-
absolutely.
I think that's really important too, Sandy, because we did so much work unpacking those standards first.
That's right.
And I think that's one of the things I would want people to know is those umbrellas really include all of the standards that's how they kind of came to be.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, because you guys spent a lot of time doing that.
It was hard. It was like kind of brain twisting, And so it makes sense to us now, but maybe not to everybody.
Right.
It segued into the umbrellas and how that was a little bit of a challenge to move from the unpacking portion into the umbrella portion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. The sort of like synthesizing and connecting a little bit more.
And the other like part of the umbrellas, like we call them umbrellas, and that's the icon that we use. But like when I think about the umbrellas, I take it out of the umbrella format and put it in a different format for me to think about because the umbrellas are overwhelming to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so like that, that's just, and I've been doing it since day one. And, I still look at them and say, what does this mean?
Liddy, that's true for other people as well. Do you have a parallel document to each umbrella that's not in the umbrella form?
You guys, I came up with one myself. I can actually show you. You probably can't see it, but no, you can't see it at all. I took each umbrella for my own purpose, and I shared this with Chris, I know, for 4th grade, and put it in a linear form, so it became a curriculum map without a lot of detail, but it was everything that was in the umbrella now is in this linear form that spans across the entire year. And for me, that's what I look at now because it just makes more sense.
Yeah, that's great.
And I think what people find is that the process of creating those umbrellas was really powerful. And whether or not that sheet of paper is helpful
in that particular format.
In that format, right. Like for some people it's not helpful, for some people it is. And people have found different ways to work with that information to move forward. And so that I think if we start by saying, talking about unpacking the standards, incorporating them into the umbrellas, it was sort of brain twisting to do that. I really like that. And that the product actually seems like much less than the process that we went through to get there.
It does, doesn't it?
And so that people have expanded them, have contracted them, have shifted them from vertical to horizontal to, we've done a lot of things with them. But the process we got to was we know what the standards are, we have essential questions, and we have sections of the year. And we really want to show that, and that was really like the stages that Lily's so good at describing. We got clarity on the essential questions and the standards. So that was really stage one, and it was messy, and it's going to continue to be messy. And now we're moving forward to be even more clear and more specific about what this will look like in the classroom. Is that a good way to move? From forward.
Oh, you mean the case study sheets become the way to use it in the classroom?
It becomes a way to plan for class in the classroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works.
When we were talking about this before, we kept on doing this thing with our hands with like a funnel thing, like a funnel hand thing.
Can they see it?
No, they can't right now.
We're doing a funnel hand thing.
To help visualize this as well, I don't know if we need to put that in our PowerPoint also, that it's, we started really, really broad with just these standards documents, and our task was to find the connections and then figure out a sequence, and once we did that, we were able to then articulate those connections a little bit more by coming up with essential questions and then what kids will know, how kids will be, and what they will do with all of those specific standards below. And now we're funneling even more to say, okay, so like how do you do that? We're basically on the unit planning end of things. So we're going at it and we're in the middle of unit and lesson planning.
Does that help? Does that give an overview of what we've done and how we're moving forward?
I think
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So
we were also going to just explain, so we're working on this thing called case studies. So we're really using this term case studies, and it comes from expeditionary learning. And that's part of they're typically part of larger expeditions, but we are working on them as basically isolated units, several week-long units. So then we were going to have people do a very quick jigsaw with just one other person. Not too complicated. Aren't you proud of us?
That's good.
very simple. Two things to read, only one note catcher.
Hey!
Yay!
I like that.
And we could put it on the back. No, never. And so we're just going to give people 5 minutes of silent reading, and then take notes on your note catcher, and then share with your partner, and take notes from your partner's reading on your note catcher.
The readings are about selecting case studies, but we talk more about district, and it's kind of like that case studies overview reading, except it's better. It's more ICSD focused. So we have different things about balancing direct instruction and interdisciplinary time, basically. We have stuff in there about text. We have stuff in there about
what it looks like at the district level.
Right. And then the other person would be reading about fieldwork experts and service learning. Have a better sense about those things.
So what I'm seeing is we don't have the case study planner here.
Right. So that's what I was sort of wondering then. Because you, Terry, you were suggesting that we have that in there.
Well, I think if they could be looking at that if we could be looking at that when we're doing those two readings, it would really help explain, especially what the field work and the experts portion of that template was about.
Yeah. So maybe they just note catch, maybe that's the note catcher, just right on that template, like take notes. This is basically the template and you just take notes right on it?
You could, yeah. I wonder too, would it be helpful to have a model case study?
Yeah, we were going to do that last as people have time to look at the umbrellas and model case studies and stuff. We were just going to put together, or we're in the middle of putting together just a simple folder, just a little simple Google folder that everybody can access with by grade level, so they can look at stuff with like example case studies.
So if you look, can you see a little bit farther down? So like after they, so they're thinking about the concept and construct of case studies. They do the readings, and then we want them to watch a video that Lily is constructing of
kids talking about their case study at with the Wilderness Trail
at Caroline.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing we were thinking, and actually now that we're going through it, I'm feeling like maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
So we were going to have them use the checklist for designing learning experience as a place to start a conversation about what they saw in that video. But I don't know if that's too many things now, because we just gave them the case study organizer. Do you know what we mean by the checklist for designing?
Mm-hmm.
It's feeling like you've got a lot in there and you don't have a lot of time.
Okay. So I think instead of using yet a different checklist, we just have them use that template to guide their conversation. You think?
I think that's good.
Or
I think one more thing would be
Okay.
getting.
And having the template can make it seeing something really in action and saying, oh yeah, this is where it fits in the template.
Okay.
Mhm.
Great.
what about this, guys? So Sandy, you were just saying, I think they need to see a model, or somebody was saying that. What if, so this next part that we were going to do was going to be the free explore, where they go in the Google folders and they find things by grade level and they just sort of like talk about it. And we were going to make you guys stand up for a second so they could go and talk to you if they wanted to. Hopefully that would be okay with you. And
I'd
maybe
let people know beforehand.
that.
Let the piloters know
Oh,
beforehand.
yeah. Okay. So we were gonna do this like sort of free explore where they could see some examples, etc. Do we do that before we watch the second grade video? Like, is the second grade video the way we end with this? Like, what do you think?
So I think if you do switch it up that way, it gives a different kind of message. It gives you, okay, look at this, kind of get a feel for it. It's going to seem overwhelming, but then like here's a positive look in action. You know what I'm saying? So like
Yeah.
here's a case study in action, and then it may not seem so overwhelming. If you see the video first, you may not like have a sense of what you're looking for per se. And then when you look at all the information or case study information, you might leave feeling overwhelmed.
Huh.
So you're thinking maybe flip those last two.
Right.
Although I could see the ending with them being able to talk to us about what we've done so far. I'd almost want them to see an example first before they talk to us, and they can look in the pilot folder and they can see some case studies that we've written.
Yeah.
Do you think that should be how we finish the part up here, where the concept and construct of case studies?
That could work.
Like, so as the way they finish that is, okay, you've thought about it sort of like the concept of it. Now, here's an example from your grade level. I'm not quite sure how we logistically do that, but we can figure that out. And then they watch a video, and then they can talk to people.
And then talk.
I don't know.
That's
feeling
that seems-
choppy.
Yeah, that's too choppy because it's like do your grade and then jump to second grade and then go
Oh,
back
yeah.
to your grade.
Is the second grade video, is that, tell me what that is again?
You guys want to see it?
Okay, yeah.
We're still editing it, but at the start. So the kids what they're doing is they're talking about what they've been working on, and let me see here. I look so intense over here. Let's see. Oh, just kidding. It won't let me screen share it.
I said you were no longer presenting.
No, that's fine.
I know. So can you just show a clip so they can get a sense of it? Could they just like look at one? Would that work?
So it's kids being videoed, and so here's one clip. I have no idea what this clip is, but here's them talking about it.
Oh, this is about the rubric.
You know what things you need to do and things you don't need to do. Like fix. Like, I had a one-on-one with my team teacher that I didn't have anything. Like, I didn't really have a conclusion. So then I had to write one the next day, and then I graded it as a 2. And then the next day, I made it even better. So then it was...
So you gave it a 3 after you made it better.
So that's an example of, I mean, obviously it's clipped down. It looks very professional, I will say.
So what it is we went and talked to kids about their process that they went through. And then Lily's been splicing them together.
So this is
So-
them. They wrote something about their experience with the wild wilderness
They
trail.
actually wrote letters to local leaders that might be able to help them with the flooding of their wilderness trail. And so they talk a little bit about writing the letter, but then they talk about what they did first, which was like they had to go out and look, and then they watched some Google Pop videos about it. And so we just interviewed different kids, and Lily has spliced it together. So they talk about the process they went through, they talk about the writing, they talk about using a rubric, and they talk about whether they think they're going to make a difference or not.
Is there a case study written up that goes along with that, by any chance?
Yeah.
Because I could see using that as the model write-up and then seeing it in action in the video. That could be pretty cool.
Right on.
Okay, so maybe we had said use the template as a place to start the conversation, but maybe as they watch the video, they have we let them look at it for a few minutes.
Yeah, sure. Maybe we say, like, so here's where you can find the written up version of this case study so that it's clear.
Mm-hmm.
And for those folks who want to look at it while they're watching the video or afterward.
Will the internet have the ability to handle everybody's devices?
That is an unknown thing. You know, the space is new for Green Star, and they think it's going to. But honestly, I don't think they've ever had a thing where everybody is there with their device.
So making too many things dependent upon everybody being on the internet could be frustrating and feed into the fuel that people feel about the changes with the computers.
Mm.
So I'm just looking at the actual floodplain case study document that they have in second grade. Let's see, I'm just going to see. It's 6 pages. It's in rough form. It's rough form.
Because it's a working document.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
They have a whole page that
That's a lesson plan.
there's a lesson plan on it.
So it wouldn't make sense to have a hard copy then, because it's just too much.
It's pretty specific. I mean, they've done a lot with like supporting targets and assessments. I don't know if it would be overwhelming.
Yeah.
Or if maybe we should stick with the template. I don't know. Someone was going to say something.
I was just going to say, you know, it would be wasteful to make hard copies of that. I would say make it available online. If people want to view it, they can and look at it, and then if they don't, they don't. But don't, you know, like just say that it's there so that people have the opportunity to look at the information if they so wish. And if the internet doesn't work, the internet doesn't work. I mean, it could also be in that Google file that you're sharing with everybody. So put it in each grade level, just so that it exists at each grade level, and then people can digest it afterwards.
Okay. And so then, do you think it'll be enough for them to follow the video with the?
Yes, because you've given them a blank case study form.
Right, and they've also used that case study form in their jigsawing about the components.
Right. So I think that, and I think that anything more than that to hand to them, like some people are going to be able to like say, okay, I can look at this case study and I do it, particularly those of us who are familiar with it, and there's going to be other people who are like, I'm retiring this year, so I tuned out 7 minutes ago, but this video is going to catch my eye, and oh, I'll look at that.
Yeah,
Okay.
like, oh, look how cute. Those are our kids.
Right.
Okay. All right. We hear you.
Cool. This is really helpful, guys.
Okay, so are we then sticking with doing the readings, the jigsawing with a partner, then the video, then free explore?
Yeah, I think we should.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Great. All right, and in the free Explore, what do we
And
want?
that's a time when they could go to that case study for the video too, if they wanted to.
Okay. So they could look at the second grade case study. You're already doing that? No. Oh, okay. Should we have an example of a case study at each grade level?
Yes.
If there's one available, I think you should.
Okay.
And if we don't have one,
Just find a grade above or below.
yeah.
Okay.
I know we have a few already in 4th grade.
Okay. Is that enough? Is
that are
that
in that
enough for
file.
them to look at?
What's that?
Is that enough for them to look at? Because it's going to be 10 o'clock and they're going to gotten. That's good. They will have received a lot of information.
Well, we gotta put the umbrellas in there.
Oh yeah. Okay.
We were talking about putting the checklist for designing learning experiences and the one for authentic tasks as well. But that could just be noise. What else? Sorry, Chris, you were going to say something.
Well, I was just going to kind of echo what Liddy said. Is it going to be information overload? Yes, particularly for those people who have no experience in this, and this is first-time information. I don't know how many people there are in the district that that's true for.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I think at this point, at this 10 o'clock time, you're going to have people in lots of different places.
Mm-hmm.
So having the piloters stand up and be, kind of like a resource to ask questions to, I think is going to be really helpful, because there are going to be some people who want to know specific details and other people who are going to say, how did you even narrow this down to begin? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and people who are just going to need to sit with the person next to them and just sort of process what they heard.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think that ending and having all sorts of information available just for people to kind of to browse and deal with or not deal with is going to get people at least on the same page and talking about where things are going.
Let me ask this. Do you think we should ask the piloters to walk around?
No.
Okay.
And the only reason that I say that is because that, some people might not be comfortable. I mean, I don't care personally, but that's me. I'll talk to anybody. But there are people who are, more reserved and or maybe not even confident, because half the time I think, oh, this is a dice game. I don't know if it's going to work or not. But if you're asking them to walk around and interact with people, you're putting them on the spot, versus if they're approached, then they are free to say, you know what, we're working on it. It's a work in progress. There's this document is not static. It's a living thing that's changing each time we sit down and do more with it.
Great. Okay. I just want to say.
Also, we should be aware of the number of people at each grade level. I know kindergarten just has 3 of us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Isn't there a grade level where there's like only 1 person?
No.
I couldn't remember.
Piloting?
Oh, over the summer, yeah. 3rd grade, only 1 person could come, but now we have a gaggle of folks.
We have like 9 to 12 people there now.
Right.
So we'll just have people stand up, and then, if you guys in kindergarten are feeling overwhelmed, we'll try and keep our eye on you guys, and if you have a line, we'll try and come and save you.
I honestly don't think people will overwhelm the piloters. I think if somebody is available, they'll talk to them. If not, they'll save their question, for a different time.
Yeah, okay. So that sort of leads to the wrap-up. We want people to do a little Google form, and I think people are used to that. We've done that a lot. We want them to just reflect on each learning target about where they feel they are. But then we also want to just sort of, do you have remaining questions? And then, I feel sort of compelled to ask people to sort of weigh in on, and I don't know how to put this, so this is what I'm asking. I have written down here, how do you see yourself using this information? What's next? you know,
I
like
think you should leave it just like that because I think that's going to give you some really good feedback. I
Yeah,
really
'cause
do.
yeah,
That's
there's
what people are going to be able to say. Here are my concerns still, or yeah, now I can see how I might use it, or I still don't see how I could. I mean, I think you're going to get a lot of really good feedback with that question.
okay, thanks.
Yeah, yeah.
and you know, expect that there's going to be people who say I'm not going to use it.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know,
And we want that, and that's why it's going to be personal and anonymous. You
Yeah.
know, individual and anonymous.
So
Yeah.
if you find that there's like a quarter of the people who are like the I'm not or this is
Right.
too overwhelming, I'll never get there, then that, you know,
Yeah.
creates a different level of work, you know, rolling these out versus if you've got 90% of the people like, oh, I'm so excited, let's go.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'll give us great feedback. Okay, great. Wow.
Now the only question I have is what's Plan B if the Wi-Fi doesn't hold, you know, everybody's signal.
Well, let's see. I'm going to sort of go backwards. With the wrap up, we can send them the link and ask them to do it later, you know, via email. That always sucks for me because you only get about half as many people. But
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what we do from 10 to 10:30 is if it doesn't work, then we trust people to go back and look at those and fill out that form.
and the other thing we could do is we could, like, if we have an inkling that that might be the case, you know, we could say, pair up, get in groups, you know, maybe sit with your grade level team and just have one computer amongst you, which
Yeah.
I think, one, would help the Wi-Fi, and two, might really increase conversation.
Right.
It's a really good question, though, so I'm going to just put a little...
I kind of like the idea of doing it by group so that people aren't as intimidated and they have more thought put into their responses instead of some flip response.
Oh, you mean by the Google form?
Yeah, your wrap up, your questions. You know, if you're talking to somebody else and thinking about it, oh yeah, I see what you're saying, and you get kind of more of a thoughtful idea of, you know, how they.
You know, though, Sandy, I think we almost want those flip responses, though, just to see what the real feeling is out there, even if it's just a few people.
Okay.
It might not be bad to hear those, even though they're annoying and irritating. Not the people, the responses.
Right. We need to hear those responses. And I think, yeah.
And people may not be honest in front of a group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not as honest, yeah.
So I think maybe if we have the group time suggestion up here at 10 o'clock, and we say, so, you know, explore as a group, think about it together, and then we ask them to reflect individually.
Right.
Is that okay, Sandy?
Sure.
Okay. I think that will really help with the Wi-Fi, too.
Totally.
Because we're really not going to know until everyone gets on.
Yeah, like there are going to be like 7 of us setting up tables and chairs. And we
Right.
can't exactly all try to crash the Wi-Fi that way.
Right. It just won't work.
Bring every device you've got.
Yeah. So, okay, one of the things you guys were saying is that they should have the template, and so we've put that in. And they should see examples. They're going to see examples through a couple different things. They're going to see the Lightning post office. They're going to see the video of second grade. They're going to see the components in their jigsaw reading. And then they're going to have a time to peruse the umbrellas and samples from each grade level.
Mm-hmm.
Is there other things that we need to? Are there other things that we need to include?
I think that's enough. That's a lot.
Okay.
You know, I from our school, the little bit that we've talked about this whole process at staff meetings and whatever, and Sandy, maybe you can tell me if I'm hearing this right, is there's kind of the burning question of what is the district's expectation about who's going to be using these, how are we expected to use them, when do we have to start, blah, blah, blah. So I'm thinking that's probably up at the top.
Yeah, that's
But that's where I'm talking about the misunderstandings. I think that's where that burning question is coming from, because there are some real misconceptions about what this is all about, and there's like somehow this thought that there's like a hidden agenda by who, I don't know who, but
Yeah, I
you know what I
think
mean?
so. Right on. That's what
I
I'm
think
getting.
getting that right out there and addressing that could put a lot of minds at ease, maybe, or at least partially at ease.
Yeah, I think that's
You
good.
know what I'm talking about with the, you know?
I think they're gonna. I think it's gonna start to put minds at ease. I think what we're gonna have to remember, and I appreciate you guys reminding us of this. You know, probably for the next 5 years, is people are still gonna think there's a hidden agenda. Like some people. Like, so we're just gonna have to keep being like, no, actually, remember Matt's was really clear. You know, there is no hidden agenda. You know, blah blah blah, and we're gonna describe what it looks like, what this means at a district level. You know, what this means at a class level. Yeah.
And I
Okay.
think, too, it's not like there's necessarily that many people out there that are thinking that way, but it's just like, you know, when you have a class where there's a couple of kids that are really tough, it makes you feel like you have a tough class.
Yeah.
When it's really just a few, you know? So I kind of feel like that might be what this is like as well.
Right, but it does only take a couple of people, you know, being pretty cautious to make things feel a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
And it's, you know, it's good to have those people because it really raises good questions, you know? Why not have that and get it out there? Yeah.
Totally.
Cool, guys, you're awesome. We're gonna send an email out to people with this link again, and we're gonna ask the piloters. We're gonna ask the piloters if we can share their case studies. That's okay. And if people are willing to stand up and
Be recognized.
be recognized and have people potentially come and ask questions of them. And then we will send out a note to all of our listservs, our elementary listservs, for people, telling them about the learning targets and what we're thinking for the morning. And please bring a device, at least to share whatever with the person sitting next to you or whatever. Does that seem okay?
Sounds really good.
All right. Thank you guys so much for your input. Do you guys, Chris or Sandy, have any other suggestions?
No, good.
No, I'm good.
Cool.
How do we hang up? I'm not sure I know how to hang
Go
up.
up at the top. There's a phone somewhere at the top.
Okay,
Yeah.
wait,
Click
I
on
see.
the
Okay.
phone, leave call, up there.
Right
I
there.
see. Oh, that's
Right.
actually pretty good, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, you guys. See you soon.
Bye.